Okay, we're here. Uh, how's it going, Price?
It's going good. How's it going with you?
It's going well. We're gearing up for our Canada's Thanksgiving or Harvest Fest, as it's known, for this weekend here. And yeah, had an early and long day on set. Made it back just in time for this show. Happy to have you here for this script. Happy to see everyone out there listening in live. And yeah, how are things been with you, man? Some a big news happened over on your channel this past Thursday, right? We finally wrapped up the main episodes of Quantum Leap Revisited.
Yes, we actually we wrapped it up, but the journey is not over.
That's
we're
right.
still we're still we're still gonna do some streams talking about each season and trying to kind of figure out what the best of the best episodes are. And then after that, like I said, I'm still holding some of the I'm keeping it under wraps, but there's a new concept for a show, and hopefully it'll be something that we'll still see you, at least when you can make it, we'll still see you on there because there's just a nice group of people there. I
Oh
see some of those
yeah.
people here, so that's always nice.
Oh yeah. It's a great group, great panel, great chat as always. Just like the people we have out here listening in today or listening in on the replay. And I'm excited to see, yeah, what the next one is in store. Um, I mean, one of the things that's been very surprising for me, and people have been listening to this channel and finding me on other parts, know that despite business kind of ramping down in some aspects in Hollywood, where I am, I'm almost overworked, and I'm liking it.
Well, they're
Excuse
all
me.
running away. They're all running away from Hollywood, and they're coming to your neck of the woods, and you're benefiting from it, I think.
For now, I am. I don't know what's going to happen after after a thing wraps, but no, I'm enjoying it for what I can. I'm making sure I'm planning accordingly in case we get a dip. But yeah, I'm happy to be here for all of you guys out there. With that being said, we're going to get right into the bulk of the show since we can now confirm that audio is nice and good. Thank you so much for that, Darren. Okay. And as always, I am still recovering from this nasty cough that just does not want to go away. So I apologize, but I'm going to try to mute myself when the urge to cough comes up. But for now, let's get into it in just a second. Okay. Welcome to Scripts on Saturdays, the only screenplay review show on the interwebs discussing scripts both professional and amateur, circulating around Hollywood, giving you, the TV and movie-going audience, a behind-the-scenes and inside track on what writers are pushing and what producers are buying. I am your host, the Script Doctor, and joining me this week, returning champion, Price of Reason. So happy to have you here, buddy. Yeah, we've got a fun topic today for this week's script.
Yeah, we absolutely do. I
Yeah,
guess.
you guess.
It is an interesting script, that's for sure.
It is. It does harken back to some films I remember seeing in the 60s and 70s. But before we get into that, yes, this week's script is titled "A Band of Wolves." This placed 59th in the 2024 blacklist with 10 votes. It's written by Reynaldo Leal. Price, please share with us the logline for "A Band of Wolves."
One second.
Sure.
It's the one thing I needed to have out. Give me one second. I'm pulling it up. Okay, I'm the log line, right?
You're the logline, sir.
After surviving a rival tribe's raid, a pregnant Mesolithic woman forms an unlikely alliance with a wolf in order to survive the unforgiving prehistoric wilderness.
All right, yes, the synopsis for A Band of Wolves. Asha, 7 months pregnant, survives a raid by the Lion Clan and hides in a cave in the forest, where nature forces her to learn to survive for the sake of herself and her child. Kale, Asha's man, away on a hunt, is desperate to return to be with Asha. The two, separated by months of travel, survive the winter hoping to reunite once again and free the women of their clan from the evil Lion Clan that exists only to loot and pillage. So, we have kind of a quest for fire type story, so to speak. You know, the predates.
Survival kind of.
survival predates English. General aspect of this script is there's a lot of action / scene direction in this, because there's not a whole lot of talking. Fortunately, we know what all the characters are saying, and they're just italicized with the inclination, the impression of speaking an authentic Mesolithic language of the time.
I was wondering when I read it, because basically it's written in a language that I can understand. So obviously, when they spoke, it sounded different. But I'm wondering, what did it sound like when they spoke?
I'm not sure, but I'm certain there's probably a linguist that knows. Now this is probably going to have something like, Passion of the Christ or Apocalypto, where it's all done in that language and it's subtitled. That I get is part of the intention of this script, which doesn't always need to be the case. I mean, I'm a big fan of like what they did with The Hunt for Red October. You start in Russian and then you get this kind of little transition where they're now speaking English, and we understand, okay, they're still speaking Russian, but instead of us reading subtitles the entire time, we can actually like focus our eyes on the visual actions of what's going on the screen instead of glancing back down to the subtitles for every time a character speaks.
Sometimes I struggle with that, because you want authenticity, but then at the same time you understand why they're doing what they're doing. So it's a bit tricky, these things. I mean, in a perfect world, I really like authenticity, but in this case here, I don't think that was realistic. I think that whatever we have here is fine. But are they in the movie talking funny language and I'm just reading what would be subtitles, or they're just going to talk in a way that I understand, even though it's obvious they didn't at the time?
Well, for the purposes of the screenplay, they have a little note saying like pre-Indo-European dialogue will be italicized from this point forward. So that means that they're speaking their own language, but it's italicized to remind us that it's not our English. So the intention might be, okay, if this were to be made to a film, we're going to have an authentic linguist. Everybody's going to speak this language, and then we're going to translate it, through subtitles, which doesn't really bother me, only because in the last decade or so, I've noticed so many actors not having very good diction to the point where I have to put on the subtitles to understand exactly what they're saying, because their speech is slurred like almost a buzzed alcoholic in some cases.
It's like that with music too, by the way, with singers.
Yeah. There used to be like called the hard T. You remember that with music? Like you have to hear that t sound every time you do something that ends with a T.
Right.
I remember that when I was meeting a couple of musicians that were scoring an indie film, and these were people that like wrote and played their own songs. And if we had an actor who was supposed to sing part of the song with the band, and the band leader, who is also like from from Juilliard and also the Royal Music Academy, just kind of laid into her, saying like, this is what you have to do if you want to sound correct. And just all I would hear is like, make sure every word that ends with a T, you hear the T. When you do the S, don't lisp it, actually do S proper. So many things. And so, yeah, with this, sorry guys, with this script, we have a peculiar type of narrative, because it takes place in the past, but there's a flashback within most of this story. And it is mixed over who is really telling the story. Is it this character who we're introduced to named Ulkan, who is he's about 40 years old. He's the leader of what's known as the Wolf Clan, and he is with his children heading to a hut where the clan's matriarch has passed away. And what's interesting about this dynamic is that we're described essentially that there's the leader of the clan, who is this guy, and then there's the clan matriarch, who is the kind of like the mother of the clan. We get a sense of this organization in the flashback as well, where you have the head woman of the clan is there for guiding the other women into giving birth, dressing wounds, gathering foraging, those types of things. And then the male leader of the clan, is there to lead the hunt and to protect the clan itself. So we get an understanding of these roles here, because I'm pretty sure maybe even you were a little apprehensive at this price, wondering like, oh, is this going to be like a rewrite of history where the woman is the leader of this clan, like an Amazon, but not an Amazon type of thing?
I thought about it initially. It's kind of unfortunate that over the past several years we've gotten so many movies that try to highlight that concept, theme, and idea, that at this point I'm kind of tired, and I already am wary when I see stuff like that. But it, I guess there's more to it in this story than that, I suppose.
Yeah, I would say the framing of it, excuse me, the framing of it is definitely far more traditional in how they do it. Because what we find out is that we are jumping back around 40 years in the past to the people that we've been introduced to see the story of this woman named Asha, who is the matriarch of this wolf clan. And
Right.
this is where this I would say is a flaw in the story, in the fact that we know that Asha has died around the age of like in her 60s, and now we're following a story of her in her 20s, and well, now there's no stakes because we know when her time is up, and we're shown a context of like it's a few months, it's somewhere in the late summer, early fall. She's 7 months pregnant. She's with her pseudo husband, because they don't have marriage in this thing, named Kale, who promises to come back before the first snowfall. He's going on a hunt. It's going to be several weeks, if not several months, and they don't want to be apart. And it's this pretty basic but easy to grasp affection between these two characters, and it also gives us a little bit of a context of, okay, like every person in this tribe has a role. Like even though Asha is 7 months pregnant, she is still responsible to get up and go forage for fruits, berries, sewing pelts together.
By the way,
Yeah.
I want to tell you something, because this happens early on, that she goes and picks berries with Yara, I believe.
Yes.
I actually thought that was a planting that would later pay off.
Me too.
And they pick, because she tells her, if you pick the wrong berries, those could be very deadly. And I'm thinking to myself, that's kind of like Chekhov's gun or whatever you want to call it. I'm like,
it is.
I'm like, yeah, well, I'm sure that'll come in handy at some point, right? And if I'm not mistaken, I feel like that point is never followed up again.
It's not. It's this one berry where they say if you eat one or two, you'll be squatting for the rest of the day, so to speak. You'll be voiding your bowels. But if you eat more, you could die. And I was thinking, okay, this is cool. Let's see this come into play. I made a note. Okay, this page we're gonna see. We've got the berries set up. Let's see what happens. The narrative of this also splits kind of pretty rapidly, because we've got Asha in her world, we got Kale in his world. Kale has an older brother named Vigo. He's got two boys that are too young to join the hunt, but are old enough to kind of like protect, the Vigo's woman, their mother. And they're eager to say, yeah, we want to join you. He's like, yeah, soon enough. And we get introduced to a whole bunch of these other characters, and we don't need to say their names. Because they don't really come back up again. But what we know is that this village that they have established with all their huts and their infrastructure is kind of, it's not too far from a river. It's near an escarpment with some caves and a bunch of forests. And the men, a bunch of them, I think it's like 35 or so, leave to go on a hunt to the northern grounds, which means, and we understand that when they leave, they kill their wild animals. They skin them. They harvest their meat. They keep it, as fresh as they can, even though it's not going to really last too long. And then they trade other tribes that they encounter for supplies to bring back to their own tribe. And all while this is happening, all while the Kale and Vigo and his cohorts are getting ready to leave, there are two scouts covered in furs, hiding in the brush, unable to be seen by the rest of the tribe. And
That was a pretty good setup, by the way. I thought that worked.
it was pretty neat. And while these two guess mysterious figures are watching the tribe, we're learning the relationship between Yara and Asha. So this is part where Yara is learning how to pick the berries. She's 15. Asha's in her early 20s. Asha is mentoring Yara about like what to do, and at one point there's like a gray wolf that comes out, excuse me, of the forest and kind of stares at Yara and Asha, and Yara is ready to like grab a rock and throw it at the wolf, but Asha realizes that this wolf is female and she's her stomach is distended because she's carrying pups, and so she's not interested in attacking them. The wolf just kind of wanders over to the stream and drinks, and then goes back into the forest. And this is where Asha kind of teaches Yara is like sometimes you have to figure out the intention of an animal before you go into attack it. And this is not the last time we will see this wolf. This
is actually an important meeting here. That foreshadows a lot of other stuff. I guess the berry thing was a red herring.
I guess it was. I mean, I was really hoping it would pay off, but yeah, a slight spoiler, it doesn't pay off. But what we have here is we have two characters. We have an animal and then a woman, both recognizing that they're with children and deciding to kind of let it be for now, which I thought was, spiritual, and it works for the tone. We do get this other aspect that pops up, which is we get a number of montages. So the first one is we have a montage of 2 months where women in the tribe are gathering and prepping everything they need to survive the winter. And then over across the mountain range, we got Kale and Vigo. They're going north along the Carpathian mountain range. Excuse me. And we're just kind of back and forth until we come back to the nomadic village. Asha is now in her final month of pregnancy. One of the older woman is there to kind of like prep her to see if the child will be ready or not. Funny little exchange, like, Asha is just like, when will the child arrive? And then the older woman says, stubborn children do as they please, girl. And then she remarks that, like, yeah, this kid is going to be very stubborn just like his father. And Asha's wondering if there'll be just a normal type of little back and forth. Like, Asha's like, will it be a boy? And the older woman's like, yeah, it's going to be a boy. And then over where Kale is, the snow starts falling early, and he's upset because he feels like he has lied to his woman. They're not done their hunt. They should be going back. He wants to be with her. He wants to see
It's very costly because he actually early on tells his brother Vigo, he's like, shouldn't we go back? Aren't we wasting time here? Vigo's like, no, like the women will wait there forever. It's wonderful. And it's like, if he would have listened to his brother initially, maybe they could have avoided everything that's about to happen.
Yeah, like Kale seems to be more like the one who leads a bit more by his heart and also has a little extra bit of wisdom about himself. But Vigo is more like, I'm the dad. I've got 2 boys. I've got, a woman at home. And me going out on this hunt is to get away from it all. And he just kind of wants to relish it a little bit. Well, Kale is just really eager because he's got this connection to a family that he's building for the first time. And
Vigo's selfishness, though, here was very costly. That's all I'll say.
Oh, it is, because once we come back and the snow starts to fall, that is when Asha's tribe gets attacked by Yorick and his lion clan. And it is it's about like 3 or 4 pages of just pure description. But of course, like the older men and the male children are trying to fight off these the Lion Clan. They're big, they're burly, they're inhumanly strong. They start killing men and children and taking women, and Asha, with the help of Yara and a couple others, managed to get kind of out of the campgrounds, and they're hiding away. At one point, Asha is trying to hide with this other woman, and this other woman just pushes her away. And it's like, is this a survival thing, or is it, keep running and we'll buy you time? Like, we don't really know at that point. It could be played either way. But Asha and Yara kind of stick together for quite a bit. There's this other character named Torin, who I'm not really sure how to describe him. He's kind of like the number 2 guy.
Right, he's basically the number 2 guy under the main bad guy Yoren. He's kind of like the Starscream, whereas the other guy would be a Megatron. If you know what I'm saying.
Well, the other part too is, so Torin, they've killed some men, they see some young boys, and this other clansman says, these young boys, they show courage. We could teach them our ways, and Yorick hits that lion clansman in front of Torin, and then Torin heads off after some of the women, and then Yorick says, we will have their women, we will make children of our own, and then he proceeds with his club to just turn the young boys into a bloody mess, just to show how evil and vicious this guy is, and it's pretty dark.
It is. It is a very dark, and I was thinking of that while I was reading it. But there's things that I'll say as we, sum things up. I can give more thoughts about it. But certainly, this isn't a lighthearted screenplay.
No,
this is actually very graphic in the things that happen here. The part where this clan attacks this village and basically kills all the men and takes the ladies. They're going all in here. This is not a rated G type of story, and the way they describe it, it's already kind of it puts you in a really kind of somber mood reading the screenplay. It's not that they didn't write it well enough, it's just that it's kind of a downer for me. But go on.
Yeah, I mean, it starts at like this is all happening within the first 20 pages. The clan raids the village. Only some of the women that didn't put up enough of a fight survive, and of course, we know what's going to happen to them for the foreseeable future. Asha and Yara are split apart. Asha kind of distracts Torin. Yara distracts Torin while Asha goes towards this base of a cave, base of a mountain, and finds a small cave, and then she kind of makes a very hastily shelter to hide in. And it's really difficult for her because she's trying to protect her child. There's this one moment that I thought was really telling of Asha's character. She's running away in the forest. She trips over a log. She falls down on her back, and immediately she's grabbing her stomach to see if her child is okay. And she expresses this panic, and then she feels the baby kick, and she's like, "Oh, thank God!" That type of reaction. And I liked the maternal instincts that were conveying that the writer was conveying through for Asha, and so when she manages to get up to this little base here and stay quiet, it's really it's a really tense part because the kid is kicking inside of her and it's making her really uncomfortable, and she doesn't have any food. She has the only supplies that she has is the little satchel she had with her, that she wears when she's with Yara to collect, berries and things. I think she's got a bone needle maybe, and she just has to hide out here. And of course we go back to the encampment. Torin has brought back a couple of fellow clansmen to kind of scout around. They eventually find Yara, grab her, and take her back. And Torin is obsessed with trying to find this Asha woman. We don't really know why. Just maybe it's ego. one got away. But yeah, like we get from Yorick, he's just like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. He gets first pick of all the women, and he kills one that won't cooperate, and then throws her body like in front of the other women to kind of intimidate them. And it's it's pretty vicious. There's a lot of like blood girdling and smashing of faces with rocks and stuff like that. How are you
really
feeling?
A feel-good movie. It's not a feel-good movie in my screenplay.
Definitely not in the first act. That's for sure.
Not in the first act. But you know what? The first act for me was such a downer that it's not that. Yes, there are things that happen later. Then there are moments that could be seen as more feel-good. But with this in the background and everything that happened here, hard to really consider this like a wholesome fun, if you know what I mean.
Oh, this is definitely a screenplay that's all about how much life throws at you and how much you can respond to it. Because by the time you get to like page 22 or so in the script, Kale and Vigo have no idea what's going on. The campment is taken over. It's now the Lion Clan, and many of the men there are working very diligently to create more clansmen with the women they have captured. And Asha is making her way further into the forest, just trying to survive, knowing that at any moment she could be in labor. And we do see that there's a couple of points of interest that help her out. For starters, as she gets further and further into the forest towards another set range of mountains, she finds a natural spring. And so now she's able to like finally drink for the first time, but she doesn't have any food. And so this is where the story kind of takes off. Like we're focused mostly on Asha for the next 30 pages or so, where she's trying to use the knowledge that she has to survive for herself and for her kid. What were some of the struggles that you can remember, Price, that Asha had to go through in this early point of the second act?
Well, I mean, if I remember correctly, initially she could pick some vegetables and fruits, which is something she's better at.
Yeah.
And when it comes to like hunting actual prey, it wasn't like her strong suit. And as it gets colder, though, and there's less vegetation, she realizes now that they're going hungry. So in that case, she has to start thinking how she can get actual prey. And one of the turning points here is that there's like a bear that he himself has captured something, and then like whatever he leaves his leftovers, she basically wants it. But then there's a situation where the wolf, that's like that was introduced in the first act, her path crosses with this wolf that's trying to find food for her. Three. She has three pups.
Yep.
But one of them dies just I think of natural causes. And then she has two at that point. Mm-hmm. And then they're sort of initially they're both kind of in the same territory, trying in a strange way, trying to get food for themselves and their own children. But you can jump in here, but I think a few things happen.
Yeah, well, the major part is when she finally drinks for the first time from the natural spring, that's when she notices the giant paw prints and realizes that there's a bear somewhere in this area. And then as she's kind of scouting around, determining where she could have a little hut or someplace to some shelter, she goes into labor, and she is struggling and trying to move along.
Sorry, I forgot about the labor part. I apologize.
She ends up finding
I jumped forward.
Yeah, she ends up finding this big log with that's been gutted out. It's kind of hollowed out, and she kind of uses the log and gets herself in a position where she can have this kid. And what's interesting is the way it's described. Excuse me. The way it's described is like Asha has seen other women give birth, but she's never done it herself. So she is very much freaking out, and she's trying to do what she remembers the other women doing, and she eventually manages to give birth to this young boy, and she catches him before he falls into the hollowed out tree, yeah, basically what it is. And yeah, she kind of swaddles him up. She removes most of her clothing so that she can wrap up her child to be warm, and then struggles to walk further away. And that's when we see the wolf return. And the wolf has also given birth recently, but she ends up finding the afterbirth from Asha, and grabs it and dashes through the forest, only to encounter a bear. So now we get to see this bear, and the bear clearly has been sniffing around, smells Asha, smells the newborn baby, wants the prey, chases after the wolf, but yeah, it manages to get away in this tiny little cave that the bear can't get into, and Asha finds a cave of her own, and the only thing that she can do right now is okay, she can breastfeed the kid, but she needs food in order to stay alive to breastfeed the kid. And she takes a look at her inventory of berries and plants, and it's definitely not enough. and she is, as you were saying, Price, she is really worried. And we end up going into another montage where she is scavenging as frequently as she can. She manages to find some plant fiber to make thread. She makes kind of like a harness for her son, who has not been named yet, and she wears him on her back as she tries to gather as much food as possible, and it's not a lot. And during this montage, we find out that it's ongoing for about 2 months or so, and Asha is losing a lot of weight. She's looking gaunt and pale, and she's not strong. And yeah, she's trying to avoid the bear. She's going after scraps from any of the kills.
Over so much. I jumped like 40 pages forward. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay, because we do stick with her for a long time. Like, we don't know what's going on with Kale and Vigo. We don't often go back to the village that's under garrison by the Lion Clan. The baby kind of cries a lot until after a couple months, where it just starts cooing more often than crying. And
right, but I was right that at some point they go hungry, and then the weather changes, and she does want to go get more food, and the vegetables aren't there anymore, I think.
Yeah, there's nothing there anymore, but she does see some rabbits, and so she tries to come up with her own form of like a trap to capture the rabbit with like a large rock to like crush it, so to speak. And it never works, and it just doesn't work at all.
Right.
And then while Asha is kind of trying to learn how to do follow tracks, so she knows that she recognizes the bear track. She knows to stay away from that. She recognizes some old tracks from the wolf, so she stays away from that. And then she recognizes she finds some other tracks, and she's not sure what they are, but it ends up leading her to a deer. And so she has grabbed some sticks. It knows how to make a fire. She's turned them into some spears, and she's hunting this deer. And right when she's about to like make the kill, the bear comes in and just kind of like jaws out of the water. It just comes up and just breaks the deer's neck and just starts mauling on it, and doesn't know that Asha is there. And so she just waits, and she just strategizes, and we get the idea that, okay, when the bear has made its fill, she'll then go after for the scraps, like you said. But what ends up happening next once the bear has had its fill there, Price?
After the bear has had his fill, then she finds herself in a situation that she's kind of competing with a wolf,
right,
to get his scraps. And I thought that was interesting, because initially she's sort of a rival to that wolf. But as time goes by, first of all, I think it also shows that she's getting better with the rabbit traps, and she actually at some point catches a rabbit. But in addition to that, as time goes by, there's an additional incident there where the bear basically finds where the wolf is hiding her pups.
Yep.
and they have a little bit of a battle between them, and he hits the female wolf, and he actually kills one of her babies. One already died from natural causes. One
Yeah.
he kills, and there's only one left. And in a kind of surprising moment, Asha grabs the one that's still alive and runs,
Yeah. And takes
and
it back to her cave.
basically takes it back to her cave with her baby, and they're there, and they sort of, it's I guess a cave that's difficult for the bear to get inside of. So, and they put rocks there and all this stuff. I don't exactly know how those rocks kept him from coming in, but whatever. The bear can't make it into the cave, so he just kind of goes away. Eventually, though, the Asha, she actually goes back and takes the mother wolf that looks like she's, dying, and it seems like she's going to put her out of her misery. But then she kind of has a change of heart because the wolf opens her eyes, and then she's like, "No, like today is not your day to die. Like
You've got your own
now
pup to
we're
look after, that type of thing. Yeah.
right." And then she creates a situation where like they're cautious, they don't trust each other a bit, and the pup is there and all this stuff, but
But the pup
somehow
is
they
what bridges the mother and the wolf together, because the pup is playful. Like when
yeah,
Asha puts her baby down on the ground, the pup licks the baby's face and plays with him and paws at him, and the kid laughs, and she's never heard her child laugh before, so she's seeing that there's some sort of connection going on here. And then the pup also kind of goes up to Asha and nestles up next to her. It's essentially domesticating itself. And
right,
this is what inspires Asha to go like, okay, I'm going to go back to his mother's wolf. She's probably dead. If not, I'll put her out of their misery, and then I'll take care of the pup and my kid. That's when she discovers that the the wolf is still alive. She fashions kind of a stretcher of sorts, and then brings the pup into her cave, and then has to muzzle it so that she can apply like this poultice over the wounds
right.
of the wolf.
You explained this much better. I jumped forward again. I did the same thing. I keep jumping.
Well, I
keep
mean,
jumping like 30 pages forward. But it's not bad. Nothing I said was wrong. It's just
No.
that I don't know why. It's like you said. There's so many pages with this Asha and with this wolf that kind of the part that immediately was in my mind was the parts that I told you. But once you reminded me that those other parts happened, I'm like, oh yeah, she also. That's true too.
Well, like this is because there's so much description in it. This script is about maybe an 80-minute movie, but it's 108 pages in length. So the beats come, well, visually they would come really fast, but here it takes a while to get there because there's all this description, and there's a lot of silence in the film or in the script because Asha is by her lonesome, and every once in a while she'll talk to herself, but not really. And we get all these time jumps and these montages, and we get another montage where the mother wolf heals and is able to walk again, but she's like not at full strength. But they're journeying out together, and then the rocks themselves, like Asha places the rocks in front of the main entrance of the cave, so the little pup can't get out, and it's her baby on her back, and the mother wolf out scouting and looking for prey. And we see this one moment where they find a boar, and the wolf chases after the boar, as does Asha, and the wolf ends up getting way ahead of the boar, turning it around so that the boar has to run towards Asha, and then the two work together and kill the thing. Excuse me. And then Asha harvests the boar, throws some meaty not really scraps, but some meaty portions to the wolf and her pup, while she cooks up the rest for her and her kid. And this is where she starts to like gain some weight back and get some color back in her skin. But it's still not an easy journey for her. And then finally, we go back to Kale and Vigo, and they're on their way back, and they find that the path that they normally take has been blocked. So they have to go around, and this detour could take weeks. And Kale is just super upset. Like he wants to blame Vigo for not leaving first or earlier. But Vigo's like, no, everything's going to be fine. These things happen. We'll find our way. If we have to trade some extra stuff with the other tribes in order to get back, it's not the end of the world. We had a huge hunt. That was good. But I want to raise this question to you, Price, because this was something that I was scratching my head over.
Yeah, sorry.
Vigo sucked. But like, if you were to like kill something 2 months ago, that meat's not going to last 2 months. You know.
I want to believe that even during ancient times there was a way to maybe like dry things. You know what I mean? Maybe there was a way that you could. I'm speaking stupid things, kind of like a beef jerky situation. Maybe there's certain things that you could keep for a while and still eat later. I'm probably talking nonsense. I know nothing about like the Neanderthals, the whatever it is that we're talking about. But you know what I'm trying to say. Maybe they had a system that there's certain things where they dry them and they can still be used as some kind of food later. Maybe not especially appetizing food, but food nevertheless. That's what I was thinking to myself. I could be wrong. That's what I was thinking.
I was hoping that would be the case, because the stuff that I remember from history is that if you went on a hunt, you weren't gone for more than a few days travel because food doesn't keep, and you have to go regularly, right? So, I'm curious. Maybe they figured out how to salt things. Maybe they found a salt mine somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, I was thinking jerky. I don't know if they thought about it or not. That's probably the only option. I can't think of anything else. If they figured out some kind of jerky, that's how they do it.
Yeah, probably. I'm hoping. So this is where the script kind of gets into a lull, because not only has a lot of time passed, but Asha is on her own, taking care of the wolf, her pup, her own kid. They've figured out their system of hunting, and at this point here, like, it's kind of just par for the course until we get an encounter with the bear. And this part is kind of scary because, and correct me if I'm wrong, Price, because I am going from memory and from my notes here, but she gets kind of cornered from the bear, and it's about to kill her when all of a sudden a number of spears kind of pierce into the back of the bear. And this allows her to kind of get away, and as she gets away, she realizes that, oh, this is the Lion Clan that and they're killing the bear because they're going to harvest its skin, its fur, and then its meat. And so the bear has, which was this, imposing threat to herself and to the wolf, has been taken out by the enemy that has conquered her village. And at no point is Asha coming up with any plan to liberate her village. Like, she is well aware that she is not able to do this.
Right.
And she doesn't even try to formulate a plan or anything. What ends up happening is a runner who went on ahead from Kale and Vigo's journey came back to let them know that, yes, something's going on with the village. It doesn't look the way it was before we left. And when they kind of approach the perimeter, they see that the Lion Clan is there, and it has taken over the village. And this is also where Kale is getting he's gotten really upset with Vigo. He's like, this is why we should have this is why we should have left earlier. I should have been here to protect Asha. I don't even know if she's alive or if my child's alive. This was all like he's just kind of giving him the riot act, so to speak. But Vigo is saying, like, well, calm your temper. We have to figure out how to, rescue our people. And so they form a quick plan. We get into this huge fight within the village. The Lion Clan takes some severe losses, and Kale is just going from hut to hut looking for Asha, crying out for her, and
Yara.
Yeah, doesn't find her. Only finds Yara.
She's not here. Yeah.
Yeah, we get reintroduced to Yara. We find out that she's been horribly abused by the Lion Clan. We also know that There are a few women there that are starting to show early signs of pregnancy. So yeah, there's this is the nature of what's going on here. What ends up happening is the Lion Clan manages to secure their new territory, and Kale and Vigo men have to retreat now, and Kale does not want to retreat. He really wants to go and find where Asha is, and Yara said like she went in this direction, but no one has seen her for months. But we believe that she's alive. And so Kale and Vigo say, well, they come up with this plan. So Vigo is going to head back north, and some of the tribesmen that they've met on the way, they're going to reach out to them to see if they can help free their clan. Kale, on the other hand, has said, okay, you go do that. I'm going to go look for Asha. And Yara, you go, like, since you were able to escape, you go with Vigo and do what you can. I'll head in the direction you told me to, because I need to find my woman. I need to find my child. And, excuse me, as he heads off, Yara ends up catching up with him and saying, like, no, I got to be with you too. I have to find her as well. I'm the one that let her go on her own. Yes, I distracted them, but she was scared and hurt, and I feel like if I don't find her too, I betrayed her. And as they're wandering through the forest, to essentially following the same path that Yara saw Asha go onto, a bunch of Lions clansmen, no, not a bunch, sorry, two of them, have captured 5 women from another tribe somewhere. And they're
from the west or something.
Yeah, from the west, and they're bringing them through the forest here. And Kale is ready to do an ambush on them, and he's all prepped when all of a sudden, like, a spear comes out of the forest and penetrates the back of one of the Lions clansmen, and then the 5 women, they start to fight the other guy as Asha appears, and then so we have 6 women fighting one left Lions clansman. Right. So the odds are now in the favor of Asha and these women. And Kale comes in and kind of delivers the finishing move on the clansmen, and they reunite for the first time. And it's like a beautiful, beautiful scene. He says like how he was worried about her and how he felt like he's no longer worthy of her because he did not meet his promise. He wasn't back in time, and she's had to do all this stuff alone.
He's the most sensitive Neanderthal.
Mesolithic guy, yeah.
He's the most sensitive one that ever lived.
Well, I mean, he's a guy with a lot of honor, and I think because of the situation, he felt that he lost it, that he has lost his honor, and he's got to re-earn it again. Because they bring the women back to the West Tribe, and this is where things kind of go a little. Well, in one direction, it would have gone really, really bad, but fortunately, the script doesn't do that. Asha with the wolf approaches the clan with the rescued women, and the people of this clan are surprised that Asha is not frightened by the wolf, that the wolf is not attacking her or anyone else, is kind of, their friend. And she says, yeah, like, while I was on my own, I had to befriend this wolf here. She has a pup, I have a child. This is my man, my child's father. She teaches the wolf how to recognize Kale and not be aggressive to him, but she still has, a snarl towards Kale. And this is where Kale kind of steps up, and he says, well, with the help of this tribe here, we can liberate my tribe and do so just in time when Vigo will have his, some other forces, some assisted forces, so that we can, defeat this Lion Clan. So yeah, this is a screenplay where even though Asha was the main character, she's not the one formulating the plan of attack to rescue her people. It's her husband of sorts, which was nice and refreshing to see.
Yes, it was nice and refreshing, but I will comment.
Yeah,
there's the girl boss elephant in the room, which I will comment on later when we sum up the screenplay.
Yeah.
But I generally agree that at least, if nothing else, the husband isn't a complete bum. sort of disappoints throughout a lot of the thing, and Vigo's kind of an idiot. But at least at the end here, like you said, they need him to formulate this plan, so at least they gave him something to do.
He also does get, uh, well, he does get some victories on the battlefield, unassisted, as for him, and also, um, without getting into spoilers, Asha is not the warrior on the front line killing everyone around her. uh, it's
They didn't go full girl boss in that sense, but
No, there was smart. It was more like Seven Samurai, where the women were in large groups fighting one guy at a time, while the men were fighting 1-on-1 or 2-on-1 or something of that nature.
that's
That
fair.
was,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they were going for here. Um, but what we have is that essentially, like because Asha has domesticated a wolf, this is very impressive to all the other tribesmen, and so they decide to like form an alliance together and be one new clan that they call themselves the Wolf Clan after this amazing thing that that Asha has done. And then of course, as they're getting like kind of ready for battle, Kale seduces Asha again, like, and they make love off the riverbank, um, and so yeah, the pup and the baby are left behind at the encampment by like the older matriarchs of this new tribe, and they march their way to this canyon because they noticed that the lion tribe has started to follow Vigo's trail. They want to go after him out of revenge, and Vigo has led them into a trap of sorts because where the path, where the original path that they took has been buried over, he left clues to direct them into this one canyon, so they have like high ground, and that's
Right.
kind of where we can touch a little bit on the battle, but like this is going to be like the cutoff part of it because this is supposed to be the big climactic battle where the Lion Clan is ambushed by Vigo, the allies he made along the way, and then Kale, Asha, and then that other tribe that they encountered. So you got like two tribes against one, and it's a touch and go fight. Yorick, who's the leader of the clan, he gets his arm mauled by the wolf, but he kills that wolf, and it breaks Asha's heart. And I will say this: Asha is not the one that gets revenge for the wolf on Yorick. I'll say that. But it's a heck of a fight, and because of this, because of the way that the start of the script is framed, as interestingly as it's described, there doesn't feel like there's any stakes because we know Asha lives through this encounter. And so that's my first like point of criticism. I want to throw it back to you, Price, because you have a couple of things that you wanted to highlight from this act. So I'll give you the floor right now.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. I feel bad for this screenplay, and I'll tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the worst screenplay I've read. And generally speaking, when it comes to telling this story, it tells it. But I am suffering from sort of a girl boss fatigue.
Yeah.
And this movie, it stops short as being one of those obnoxious Hollywood movies that just wants to make the girl boss and everybody else kind of dumb in comparison to her. It doesn't do that. But you know what? Sometimes a certain movie comes out over and over again, and at the end, when there's one that actually has a little more merit, you're kind of tired of that one too, even if it didn't deserve it. I mean,
Yeah.
if I hadn't watched all the Hollywood movies over the past 7 years, and I saw a movie like this, I'd be a lot more, I wouldn't be excited in any case because it's kind of a downer, but I'd respect the movie more, and I think, okay, this is something interesting. Let me see what's going on here, and I wouldn't have any kind of cynicism or thoughts in my head thinking about like agendas and propaganda and things like. Wouldn't even
Yeah.
think about it. But after so many years, it's like another one. Oh, she's the best. It's like, yeah, I don't know. It's fine. It's fine. It's done really well, but I feel like, if nothing else, forget about all the kind of agenda and propaganda and even politics. It feels like a trope that I've seen too much over the past several years.
Hmm.
That even if now this trope is being executed in a way that's a little better, I can't forget how many times I've seen the trope for the past 7 years.
Yeah, I mean that's the other part too. Like you can tell that this writer Reynaldo Leal had this story that he wanted to write, and was fighting a lot of what would other writers be doing with this. Like, because we've seen a few films that would take place in times from either at least 200 years ago or 500 years ago, where you have the female lead essentially in the masculine lead role. Like they're the warrior, they're the gatherer, they're the executioner. They're all the things needed in order for this story to be, empowering. But what Ronaldo does for like at least a good 70 pages is he does try to show us that every accomplishment Asha makes is incredibly difficult for her to achieve. Like she fails setting a rabbit trap, I think like a dozen times before she catches her first one, and even then, even when she catches her first one, it's snatched away from her by the wolf. So this writer is not making the universe bend to the benefit of Asha the way that we've seen in other films or even in other
No, it's
screenplays.
not full on girl boss. This is not
Yeah.
like, the movie Prey or
Oh
whatever it
yeah.
is, where at the end she's like battling the Terminator and she's like a little girl. It's not going that kind of, stupidity. But the idea of the woman, she's the best, which we've seen that trope over and over again over the past several years. Like I said, I feel bad for this Ronaldo guy because I think that he actually did a decent job. But it doesn't matter what he's done because
Mhm.
he's chosen a time. It's just like people say there's comic book fatigue, and they're like, "Oh, you're doing another superhero movie."
Right.
Uh, I think that there's also a bit of fatigue when it comes to quote unquote women empowering stories, even if it's happening like with the Neanderthals or whatever it is, or in the after the Stone Age,
Yeah.
whatever period of time you want to put it there. It could be a future thing. It's space. It could be, I just saw Tron, whatever that was. It
Oh,
doesn't even matter. Sci-fi, Star Wars, whatever it is. It's like I've seen a lot of it, and I feel like I want to see something else. I'm gonna be really really blunt with you, script.
sure.
I feel like I want to see a movie where a guy shows up and starts just kicking everybody's asses, or being heroic. Forget about the action part. Just being really competent and heroic and kind of like full of power himself. And it feels like years. The only time I see those kind of movies are actually when it's like a Jason Statham movie or something, which are fine for whatever they are. But
But they're
I want to
forgettable,
see
yeah,
it.
and that's the problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there. It's no coincidence that movies like those kind of action movies, even a show like Reacher, which I think I know you're familiar with,
Yeah.
even something like that. I think that one of the reasons why it appealed to so many people is that there's such a shortage of shows where there's just a man, wants to do the right thing, wants to, battle evil people, and when you see something like that, and there's such a shortage of it, people are just kind of really being very receptive towards it. And on the flip side, I just feel like I'm whatever my capacity was to kind of absorb women driven, women power, girl powery things, no matter in what time period. I feel like I've reached my maximum capacity. So it's not that this Ronaldo guy did a bad job necessarily. It's just that I'm kind of a douche.
I think what you're describing is the response of the female driven action film or the female driven adventure story that has been so horribly executed that when one that comes very close to doing something that fits the the competency and the practicality of the concept, it still is off-putting because we've seen so many like where women like Ana de Armas is she's played 3 different action characters in the last 5 years, all of which are super strong and able to kick ass with even with the ballerina that was, I think, the most recent one. They tried to put her through the rigor of sorts to show that she was capable, but the fight choreography for my 2 cents on that was just so lame. They waited for her to do stuff, and for the few things that they were clever for, it just did not feel like it paid off to the well. Whereas, like, as I was reading this, by the time I got to like the fight in the canyon, I was thinking to myself that if this was like one of the first of when the female-led action genre took off, this would probably have stood out in more of the positive versus today, because the reverence that the writer's trying to give to Asha, he's doing everything for us to earn that reverence from the audience perspective. Its major hiccup, though, is the fact that he circumvented the stakes by already telling us at the start that she lives to 60. Like, if this was like, we just got right into, she's with Kale, he's leaving for a few months to go get food, she'll most likely have to give birth without him by her side, and she's a little agitated by that, but she's willing to do do her part within the clan so that they can be survive for the winter. And then all of a sudden their tribe is attacked and she's out on her own, where she doesn't have her man with her. She's completely alone. She has barely any resources, and she's 9 months pregnant, and now she has to figure out how to survive on herself. I'm like, that's a really cool premise, so long as because I don't know if she's going to live or not, except like, because that's how you would do it normally. But the way that Reynaldo did this is he basically introduced us in the first page that, yeah, she lived to be about 60 years old, and now we're going to go back and tell her story about how she managed to live to be 60. And it just kind of takes all the wind out of the sails for me on that part.
You know what, though? You know what's good is that it's such an easy fix that even if somebody like a studio says, we'll do this movie, just get rid of the frame story, that's it. You're done. You know what I mean? It's easy. You just delete that whole,
It's better than Apocalypto and 10,000 BC and all. Remember those movies from way back when? Yeah.
You just delete. I agree with you absolutely. The idea of like telling the story of her and whatever before you actually see her young, unnecessary. It doesn't matter. It doesn't help anybody. The only thing that maybe if you wanted to really do this frame story, it's called a frame story. Is that a fair term to use?
It's used. I mean, it's mostly bookended. Well, it's not really even bookended, yeah, because it is framed by the flashback. Because there's about, I think, 4 times in total. So one in the beginning, twice in the middle, one at the end, where we're in the quote unquote present day. And Yara is alive, telling us some stuff.
Bookend, frame story, whatever you want to call it. You're more fancy than me when it comes to this stuff, but I think that you understand what I'm trying to say. It's pretty much unnecessary if you insisted on it. It could have been just 2 people next to a campfire talking about something or mentioning something, as if like it's so far removed that you don't know what happened to this lady. You know what I mean? If you have to, the history of our tribe or something like that, and
like they'd celebrating a legend is like, oh, this is how we did this tribe. We honor her for her sacrifice, right? And then you find out, well, what's her sacrifice? Oh, she had to build this thing. Well, not so much build it. She had to raise a child completely alone. Like in a society that it takes a village to raise a child, she had to do it on her own because that village was conquered by the Lion Clan.
Yes.
And the thing is, like, she pulls it off by the skin of her teeth, and what's fascinating about this script, and I have to give props to Reynaldo, is that because she did this is why other people around, when they meet her and they learn her story, show her respect, because she had nobody. She had to do it on her own. In a world, especially in this age, where you don't have you don't have you have a luxury to raising children, and she did not have that. That luxury was taken from her, and the other part too is that what I really liked is at no point in this script does any male character, especially one with authority, ask for Asha's advice or what to do. They know. They assert their authority.
I like, somebody here said in one of the chat members that she's not a Mary Sue. And I agree with that. It's not that everything she does is great or that she succeeds at the first time. It's not like with Rey and her fixing the Millennium Falcon in 1 second because she bypassed the converter or whatever it is. It's not stupid like that. I think that a lot of the things that she goes through is an experience that's earned, and you kind of respect the process she goes through. And yet, with all of that being said, like I said, it's not the fault of this Reynaldo guy that the past 7 years have been full of these stories. Maybe he got up one day and he's like, hey, all of these stories aren't really being done well. I want to do one that's done right. And I think for the most part, it's not terrible what he's done here if this is what was his goal. It's just like I said, with a superhero fatigue or anything else, or like when people got tired of Westerns.
Yeah.
You had years and years and years, Western after Western after Western. Even if the person that made the final Western made a really, really good Western, it may not have helped him. The Reynaldo is the final Western guy, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, I mean, maybe he is. It's hard to really gauge at this point. But yeah, I would say this is the type of script where the genre is constantly in demand, but the timing for the market is no longer of interest. Like nobody wants to see it anymore because even if it ends up not doing the things that so many people have become sensitive to seeing and or like gun shy for it, so to speak, it still has that big hurdle where so many people are going to say, well, I doubt it's really not that, because come on, we've seen so many of these movies or television shows, and the trades always talk up things differently. Like, I mean, heck, even Daisy Ridley, that poor woman, was in the Cleaner movie, which is essentially like a Die Hard thing, and it's just kind of vacuous at this point. And for this type of story here, it's like, well, no, this is the type of one where, everything that's needed in order to make this work is already in the script. The few flaws that kind of hurt the stakes of it can be edited away easily enough without losing flow or pacing. And no character's role is circumvented by another character. For the sake of any type of ideology or agenda, it's not even done to circumvent at all. It's like, as soon as Asha reunites with Kale, all she wants to do is have him take care of her, and all he wants to do is take care of her. He even pledges a promise, like, I'm never leaving on a hunt again. I'm always going to be by your side. I'm always going to be there to see our child grow up. I've missed too much. And I don't care, and to hell with the rest of the world. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, this is a guy who's asserting that he is going to protect his woman and his child. And that's a breath of fresh air for a story that you would typically think, especially if it was an assignment piece from a studio, where they're like, yeah, we want a tribes movie with a female lead where she is all on her own. She manages to fashion all these cool weapons and kills wild animals and rival clansmen that are hunting her down. Like, if you're given that assignment, it's already like an eye roll, right? And this one here is like, no, I've got, like, Reynaldo has this story, and it's pretty interesting, and it does have a throwback to like late 60s, early 70s type of, like, prehistoric themes to it. And I will say he does write in a way that does take some of the sexiness out of a naked woman away.
Yeah, everything here isn't very. It's not a sexy movie, and
no.
there is there is that kind of women empowerment and at least some bad men and a you go girl type of thing going on, and you're the mother wolf and you're this and that. It's like I said, if I hadn't been around for the past 7 years to see all these like tropes over and over again, this wouldn't have bothered me. I've been like, okay, well, that's a movie that they're doing this. But right now, the public desire. I say this about myself, but I think also based on the box office, the public desire for any type of story, even one with merit, that's even mildly girl bossy, which this one at least is like girl boss light.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be an issue now.
Yeah, I would agree. So okay,
And it was a downer, and it was also I have
yeah,
to say, listen, I struggled with this screenplay because I read it and I thought to myself, we've had some screenplays that I told you I don't think this is like top 100 material. There have been screenplays that like I was embarrassed that they chose some screenplay that we read that they put it on that kind of list,
yeah,
and I thought to myself, myself, you and I together could do something better than the crap that we were reading. There were scripts that we did that I really, really felt that, and not even one or two. A number of them felt that way. That I was like thinking to myself, how low has Hollywood stooped that this is even being considered to get a green light? But in this case, I didn't feel that way. I didn't say, "Oh, this is some bum that wrote this." I didn't think that. I thought, "Okay, this guy is doing things correctly. He's building it." Like you said, there were a few parts that maybe either were kind of stretched or could have been structured a bit differently, and even the frame story, which I agree with your point as well. But generally speaking, the it's not boring. You know what I mean?
right.
It was compelling enough for me to say, okay, well, what happens next? Okay, what's going to happen here? What happens here? What's going to happen there? And it had my attention until the end of it. So I give him credit. It wasn't, he's not a bum. I just said to myself, I really wish this guy would have, maybe written a story, a different story. Like, I like what he does. I just think that I wish he did something else. And that's a terrible thing to say, but that's how I felt when I read this screenplay.
Yeah, I completely understood that. Like this one, the writing is fairly good, competent. Story structure is strong. Characters are distinct. Challenges and how the obstacles are overcome are entertaining for what they are. But I will say this type of story feels like a writer who has heard within the ecosphere. Yeah, if you want to get your script noticed, it's got to be a female-led script. And he decided, and did so with the rightly way. It's like, well, if it's going to be a female script, I have to make this as authentic to this period and these struggles and to the limitations of what this character is going to face, so that you can empathize with her. And I will say, like, Asha is a character who I didn't hate reading.
No, I didn't hate her. I didn't
Yeah.
hate her, and I didn't hate the screenplay. But the combination of it being a downer and the subject matter and the kind of tropes, I had issues with because of this moment in time. I'll give you an example, and this is
Sure.
a dumb example, but I'll just give you an example. Years ago, I'm saying years ago, I wrote something that could have been potentially a pilot for a comedy. And I wrote it, and when I wrote it, I thought it was very funny. And some years later, I met somebody, and I was showing them what I wrote. But by the time I showed them, if it was like, 6, 7 years later, it was no longer fresh like it was when I wrote it. And with comedy, you really feel that things change all the time. What was funny 7 years ago in a comedy, you do it now, it may not be funny right now. So I think that the person read it, and it's like, yeah, it's all right. He didn't see the comedy the way I felt when I had written it. And when I read it again, I said to myself, this was a period of time just like 7 years ago that stuff was happening, and now we're in a different period of time, and it's really not as funny. I accepted that. And I guess what I'm saying is sometimes you have to kind of read the room when it comes to the audience. And while the work that he's done here is competent, I just think that it's not reading the room.
Yeah, I think yeah, he's whatever room he's reading is from the studio's point of view as opposed to from an audience point of view. And this goes back into a big difference when it comes to screenwriting and also figuring out like what stories you do. First part is you're not a storyteller does not fulfill a want for an audience. What it does is it fulfills a need. The best stories are the ones that identify and fulfill that need, because lots of people, especially with the access that the internet provides, they'll tell you what they want. And if you give them what they want, I'm sorry to say, it's a Jason Statham movie, which is comes out and then within 4 days people forget about it. Why? Because it's what they want, but it's not what you need. Those are two big different things. Like John Wick, that first John Wick, it was something a lot of people needed because they wanted to see a different type of hero in a different type of world, do some really cool stuff, and have a heavy connection to the loss of his wife and the last gift that she gave him after she passed away, and how important that became to him.
I mean, I even felt something like this very recently myself. I don't know if you remember the movie Tron Legacy.
Yeah.
I thought that movie, it's not a perfect movie, but I like the fact that it explored a father and son relationship. I thought that the movie had heart, philosophical things about life, and also self-sacrifice. And I thought that while you could criticize that movie for sure, I think that it had certain beats in it that had heart. And that's what held that movie together, along with the great visuals and a great soundtrack. And now, when the studio made this new chapter that I saw the other day, it feels like they really wanted to adapt it to quote-unquote modern audience and girl bosses and whatever. And when I watched it, it felt, again, completely misreading the room. And I'm pretty sure that movie is going to flop. And it's not the only one this year. I just keep seeing more and more of them like this. I feel like people want it. I don't need Jason Statham in every movie,
Right.
blowing everybody up. I just want to see stories that also have men in it that have certain journeys or adventures they go through. They don't all have to be kick-ass. It's just giving them some kind of stage to be competent and do anything seems like such a rarity these days that I really hope that the studios start going back to doing that, because I can't think of anything good that happened to them using the same girl boss trope over and over again. And again, like you said, this guy, he came at the end of the run with a competent idea, but unfortunately with a trope that I'm so exhausted with.
Yeah, I mean, the other part too, especially when it comes to like the Jason Statham stuff and why the parallels don't work, is you still have to have a character, whether they're male, whether they're female, that has to have setbacks. That can't be the big, all-powerful, do nothing wrong character. I mean, that's what I enjoyed about this script. That's one of the things I have critiques, especially even with some of television, like even with Tulsa King, the Stallone stuff. Things are, it's all talk and things just going his way, and it has like an inversion of because traditionally a story would be like, oh, you have the setting in a small town, and then someone from another city comes in and it says, I'm taking over and I'm gonna rule this town, whatever. Well, you as an audience member are like, oh no, this town is going to be taken over by this crime boss. These people need to fight to protect their town. And then you watch that story, and then the town overcomes and pushes out the mob boss or whatever type of villain they are, and they get arrested or killed or what have you. Justice is served. But then you take a look at Tulsa King, and it's that story, but it's inverted from the perspective of the guy that's invading, and he's supposed to be our hero, and everything just works out for him because he's got money and he's got muscle. And I'm like, there's no stakes for this anymore. Because
that's actually why I feel like this new season kind of is treading a bit of water. It's like, okay, it's another operation that he wants to take over. Now there's another guy that's annoyed.
Mm.
Another guy is unhappy that he's in his territory. Another guy wants money from him. So it already really, these past few episodes have felt like been there, done that. With all of that being said, maybe because of the charm of Stallone, the cast, and that already I kind of like these characters, I'm not suffering watching it. But I think there's a reason why Stallone said for season 4 we need Terrence back. We need Terrence Winter.
Taylor Sheridan back or Terrence Winter?
No, Terrence Winter is coming back season 4 as showrunner and head writer,
Oh.
from what I understand. I could be wrong. What I remember happened, sorry if this is off topic, is that Taylor Sheridan and Terrence Winter butted heads. And Stallone really liked working with Terrence Winter, who really gave a lot of the crime feeling for the show, and he really liked working with him. Season 1, Terrence Winter was very dominant. But season 2, between season 1 and 2, he kind of got fed up with Sheridan, apparently, that's what they say, and he kind of took a back seat where he did some writing after Stallone heavily convinced him that he still wants him involved. So he did some writing, but not involved hands-on as much as the first season. Season 3, Winter bailed altogether and has nothing to do with it as far as I recall. And that's when I think Stallone, after filming season 3 and having it renewed by Paramount already for another season, he announced, or he insisted apparently, and they announced that Terrence Winter is coming back, I believe, as head writer and showrunner. And I was telling people that even when I saw the premiere of season 3, that there's probably a reason why Stallone insisted on this. Stallone's not dumb, in spite of what people think of how he talks and whatever. He probably looked at this season. He probably looked at this season and said, you know what? This is okay, but we really need Terrence Winter back here.
Well, I mean, I think it just comes down to what type of story you're telling, what type of conflicts are you legitimately putting your characters through, and how are you as a writer executing the resolution to those conflicts. So I would say for Reynaldo Leal here in this script, I think he does a pretty solid job doing so. Whereas compared to some other things, more modern day stories, they're a lot weaker. But I think the female led aspect of this script, I even think the time period of it is a really hard sell, because even if you were to invert it and make it a male led adventure film in Mesolithic times, I'd be hard pressed to see anybody of real interest wanting to see that, because this reminds me of 15 years ago we had 10,000 BC, we had Apocalypto, Apocalypto was actually pretty good, but it was a niche good. But we had these. Indeed,
this is a very niche movie.
We had these types of ancient films ancient setting films where it just kind of comes in and goes and doesn't leave much of an impact. And I'd have to say for this particular story here, in its current form, it doesn't leave much of an impact.
It doesn't, unfortunately. And there's one, I can't remember the name of it. There's one that already, I think, existed maybe 20 years ago, if not 30 years ago, where I'm trying to think who was in that movie, where they're not speaking. There's a bunch of cavemen that don't speak, but do stuff. Do you know what that movie is? I always forget the name of it.
Well, there's one that was Quest for Fire, but that was 50 years ago.
Who was in Quest for Fire?
Oh gosh, I'll have to look that up because that's been a while.
You know what? I think that this is it. Quest for Fire is the one. Yeah,
it's got Ron Perlman in it. Yeah, from
that is the
81.
one that I believe I saw.
Okay. Yeah.
And I mean, I think that they don't actually speak.
No, they don't.
They're just making booga booga noises or whatever it is. No, I mean that's really what
no, they are. That's what they're doing. Yeah.
I'll tell you what happened. How I even got to watching this movie. I didn't even know anything about it, and this is maybe, I'm talking possibly 15 years ago or something like that. I was at a friend's house, and you know how sometimes you just already flipping through the channels. It was more of a thing there because I think that Today there's much more cord cutting. He had like cable, and we were just flipping through the channels.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly this movie came on, and it was sort of in the middle of it, and I didn't know anything about it, but it was so intriguing that I kind of sat and watched it. It was very bizarre, though. It would have been a very tough sell if that movie was made today. And even this movie, which takes like a bit of a different angle, really tough sell, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right. So, okay, Price, with that being said, how would you rate this script? Would it be a green light or a pass?
Yeah, out of all the times that we've done this show together, I'll say that this one is one that I have a bit of difficulty with, because on the one hand, he didn't do a terrible job, but I still wouldn't take the movie because I think that if I was a studio head, I just wouldn't want to deal with it. It doesn't feel right to me. It's not reading the room. It's a tough sell anyways. It's about a subject matter that's very niche. If I needed something for very niche, that I was looking for something, and I thought I could pull it off for a very small budget, maybe it's something to consider. But this seems like something that would need a bigger budget, and I don't really know what I would do with it. I would do this. I would basically say that I'm passing on it, but at the same time, I would say, hey, I want to meet the guy that wrote this, and I tell him, Reynaldo, listen, you're capable of doing some good stuff. Maybe you have some other scripts. This one is one that like I don't feel good about. But maybe if you give me something else and you have some other ideas, I'd be willing to look at some of your other scripts. And I say that with no cynicism or irony. Like I would tell him, what else you got?
That's a good thing to hear, actually. Yeah.
I would say, Pat, what'd you say?
Getting the question, what else do you have, is actually a really good thing to hear, because if that means that they want to read something else of yours. Even if they didn't like the first one, there's something that they see. Because if they say, okay, thank you, it's like, and they don't want to read another thing you have, that's bad, because it means that they just don't see any value in your skill set.
So for the first time since we've done this show like together, the times that I've been here, I have this feeling of, I don't want this. What else you got? And I would absolutely tell him, I'd say, you did some good work here. There's some good writing. You told a decent story. Mm-hmm. It's not a story that I 100% want to be on board with. I don't feel good about it for like a big audience. But if you have other ideas, I'm willing to look at them, because I think that you're not a bum when it comes to writing a screenplay.
Oh, right. That's
that would be my exact words. Script.
That's some old school Hollywood producer words there.
I'm in the wrong business.
I mean, I would say this. Yeah, Reynaldo is an incredibly competent writer. Knows how to do structure, pacing, character voice. For this one, for me, I give it a reluctant pass, just based on timing. Like, I don't see a market for this for myself. It's not a horrible script. It's actually probably one of the better ones that tackles this type of request. But for me, it's just like, no, like, I'm sorry. Like, I'd rather see something else. Not necessarily modern day, not necessarily like, 10,000 years ago or 10,000 years in the future. I just want to see something more dynamic, I guess, would be the best word I can come up with. This is just not, for what it is, it's fine. I just don't see a market for it. I guess 11 other people, 10 people saw something of interest in there, but I wouldn't even go for here. I couldn't go forward with this script. But I would say, like, this is the type of script where I would, just like with you, Price, it's like, I want to see what else this guy's got under his belt. Let's check out, what does he have in his office that's he's working on or finished in another genre. Because it's just an in one ear out the other type of script. It's if I feel like there's not enough unique aspects to it to make this stand out, excuse me, from others of its type. And the framing of this being mostly told into a flashback, just really just does not make me get as invested into the script as I'd want to be. I would say, if I was in a room where the studio had said, yeah, we're making this movie, but it needs to be tightened up. My only note would be get rid of the reveal that at the start, like get rid of the framing network that we're telling this in flashback, tell it in active tense, active time, and have the stuff that you wrote at the beginning of the script be the payoff at the end. That she lived a good life and the Wolf Clan, it became stable and safe for future generations, that type of thing. But with that being said, let's check in with the audience. We put the poll out for the live viewers there. They have a 67% for green light and 33% for pass. So I would say that's kind of fair parallel assessment. Even though we both would pass it, it's not due to the merit of the script itself. It's just aspects of it that I don't think is quite beneficial for the market. Over on the Patreon side of things, it's split down the middle for green light and pass. So the people that voted on the Patreon, whether this be green light or pass, thank you so much for participating. We got even numbers this week, and so it was a split down the middle. I think that's quite telling with regards to this writer. Like he demonstrated a lot of the positive traits that we were looking for in a script, but I think the choice of the character, the setting, and how it relates to current day audiences probably is doing more damage for this script going further than initially expected. Any final thoughts, Price, before we call it an evening?
No, I don't have any final thoughts beyond that. I agree with everything you said. And yes, this is an unfortunate situation where a guy made a screenplay that wasn't awful, but it's not going to help in this specific situation. Combination of downer subject matter and just niche and not right for the current marketplace. All of these things lead to a pass, but not because it doesn't have integrity or merit. So, strange situation. We haven't, at least in all the time that I've been here as a guest, I've never encountered that before, but it is what it is. Well, sometimes that happens too. And like you said about being executives, part of being like in what we're doing now is you have to, it's not just a yes and a no. You have to think beyond that. So there have been times I also told you, listen, this movie is just okay. If I had a budget of like $1 million and they could get this little indie done for $1 million, maybe it would be worth it for me. I'm not talking even about this movie. Sometimes you have movies that for the right price, you say maybe you could do it. But I feel like this one is not going to get done for $1 million. It's not like a small indie, from what I can tell. And under those circumstances, I don't see a reason why to make it.
Okay, awesome. So Price, thank you so much for that. Let's share with the audience, where can they find you out here on the interwebs?
Well, I have two channels. I have Price of Reason on YouTube, and then there's Price of Reason Live. If you're into kind of reviews and things like that, and opinion stories or things like that, Price of Reason is good for that. If you're more into live streams, like the kind that I sometimes, like the kind you're listening to now and the kind I do with script, Price of Reason Live is good for that. So either or if you're in a generous mood, you can subscribe to both of them. That's it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Price, for swinging by this weekend. To all of my wonderful listeners out there, thank you so much for your support with the show. And if you want to find out what script we are going to be reviewing for the next episode, feel free to sign up to the Patreon. The first week is free at the base tier, and it gets you a ton of great content. Articles, how-tos, musings, as well as being able to participate in the poll going forward. And if you do participate in the poll, please feel free to leave a comment as to why you voted the way you did so that we can bring it up here on the show. With that, for all my Canadian friends, it is the Thanksgiving Day weekend, so I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving Day / Harvest Fest this long weekend. And until next time, guys, when it comes to great story, it all starts with the script.